is The Brenda Lee Show. The Brenda Lee Show.
Hello. Welcome back to The Brenda Lee Show. You guys, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't seen the movie A Man Called Otto, I'm going to spoil it for you, okay? I really want to talk to you about this movie. It is one of the most fitting movies for our time right now with what's going on with everybody coming out of COVID and really just struggling with this level of depression that people may have never experienced before in their life. And the reality is let me just give you a summary of the movie, right? Like, the opening scene, Tom Hanks is purchasing a rope and this eye hook, right? Like he's trying to, and he's just arguing. He's just angry. He's arguing over like 33 cents or something. I can't remember. It was like minimal. It was less than $0.50. And he was like, I refuse to pay what you want me to pay for this rope when I only purchased so much, right? Like he's standing on right. He is standing on right. And so we're opening this scene. Now, the only reason that I could put the pieces together, somebody else might have, but I put the pieces together because the warning, it said, when they give the little warning of the rating and they say the reason for why it's rated that way was like graphic suicidal attempts. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like this movie is opening with this dude purchasing a rope to hang himself. Like, are we seriously really like, this is what's going on in this movie. And so very captivating. I watched it with my quasi daughter. She's been our babysitter for well over a decade, and she's even moved down here to Boise to be with us. And we just couldn't do what we could do without her. And let me just be transparent. The movie's highly emotional. Like we're bawling through the movie. We're like, oh my gosh, this movie! Like it's just wrenching your heart at every turn. And what happened is this guy, you can put the pieces together as we go through the movie, right? But this is a grumpy old man. He clearly has lost his wife. And as the movie unfolds, it tells his story of his life with his wife and what they had and what they were hoping to have and the baby that they were hoping to have. And you kind of think maybe the wife's going to die early on. They get in a car wreck and the baby gets lost because and it was actually a bus wreck and they lost the baby. And he's living in this apartment now, and you kind of fast forward and you learn later in the movie that she really recently died, probably a year-ish prior to the scene of the movie, from cancer. So he had this whole life with her. And his whole premise is that his identity, his joy, he even says, he's like, until she came into my life, I saw black and white. She brought color into my life, right? So here he is in this little apartment complex that him and his wife lived in their entire marriage. Clearly, they lived there the entire marriage. It shows some scenes where they first moved in and they were unpacking and they're meeting the neighbors and they're becoming friends with some of the neighbors and they have a squabble and then now they're not friends anymore. And as he's getting home one day and he patrols the street, right? Because nobody's allowed to be there that isn't supposed to be there, that doesn't have a permit to be on that street. And he's the guy, like he's that guy. He's cranky, he's grumpy. He tells everybody else what they should or shouldn't be doing and that they're a bunch of pieces of crap, basically. He's like, you suck, you're idiots. And this family moves in and it's this couple and this guy is trying to back this little tiny U-Haul trailer up and he just can't do it. I mean, he's totally cannot back that trailer up for the life of him. And Otto gets pissed and he's like, let me get in the car. And he's like, let me back this up. Now, mind you, as a mom, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like this family, these parents, he gets in the car and he turns around. Well, there's two little kids in the back of the car. And I'm like, I would never let a stranger get in my car when my children are strapped in the back of that vehicle. But nonetheless, whatever. Otto parks the deal and come to find out, he walks back in. He was trying to commit suicide at the time, but he was so frustrated with them trying to park the car and not do it correctly. He got pissed and ran out there. Okay. So here's suicide attempt number one that they essentially break. He tried with the rope failed. Here they pop in. Now he's got to go deal with them. And every time this guy tries to commit suicide, this family, for whatever reason, steps in and side rails his suicide attempt. In fact, even the last suicide attempt, he would get dressed up every time and he would like lay paper out so as to not leave a mess. He vacuumed I think it was the first time he vacuumed the floor before he was going to commit suicide and then put paper down. And the last time he was just like, forget it. Like he was in his underwear and his shirt. He's like, I'm just going to try to do this. Forget it. And some other kid that his wife was a teacher for, and his wife accepted him for who he was, popped in and interrupted that suicide attempt. And the reality is, you guys, is there's so many things to unpack here. Not only, please don't misunderstand. I'm not making light of suicide because it is a thing. It's a thing. In fact, we're going to do a series at some point regarding suicide. It's a bigger thing than I realized, and it's devastating. And it doesn't have to be that way. And that's partly why I want to talk about this. The story was done in a really cute way, in a light-ish way, over something that's incredibly heavy, right? And like I said, don't misunderstand, because there were so many times that we were bawling through the elements of this movie where it was so impactful on our heart, right? And the reason I'm so excited about it is because the guy found a purpose. He found a purpose. This family kept interjecting. This kid kept interjecting. The neighbor that he had fought with for years, somebody had let him know what was going on with them. So he interjected himself into them to get back out there with people and have a community and feel love and support. So this family that moved in, they really relied on him to take him to the hospital, to be there. She couldn't drive. He taught her how to drive. And he started to have a purpose and a vision. And he started to see that he could make a difference in other people's lives. And I really, really, really want to hone in on this point, because the reality is, if you walk through his life and what was happening, his identity was wrapped up in his wife. He lost his wife, and now he had no identity. He was floundering. He was lost. He was half dead. He was empty. He was multiple times ready to commit suicide. He was done. He just wanted to go be with her. He didn't want to be on this earth anymore, and he had completely lost his identity. And you guys, I deal with this all the time with my divorce clients. I literally had one divorce client that had come to me, and several weeks into our coaching, he had said to me, 2 days prior to meeting you, I literally was planning my suicide. It still gets me emotional to this day, because he's an amazing human, and the world would be not the same without him here. And we worked through it, and he's like, you saved my life. And I didn't save his life. I led him to water. And like I always say, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. And he chose he chose and had a desire to pick up the tools and to change his life, right? I was just facilitating his shift. And so this is a really, really, really heavy topic that's real. And what happens when we put our identity in something or someone, instead of having our identity be in what God, universe, source, I don't care what you want to call it, instead of that higher power facilitating and giving you permission to be exactly who you're created to be, this is what can happen. Men, women, as humanity, we get hopeless. We get afraid. We get depressed. We get paralyzed. And pretty soon we're like, screw it. It's not worth living. And the reality is that's just simply not true. And in the movie Otto, he found that. He found that he did have a purpose. He could serve people. He could come back alive. He bought a new truck at the end of it. I mean, he did all these things that he had totally stuffed away. And this really goes back to emotional intelligence. And this is why I'm so passionate about emotional intelligence in my corporate business that I do, in any speaking engagement that I do, and in the divorce, the freedom after divorce programs that we offer for executives and high achievers, right? Where you can have life again. You can have joy again. You can have happiness again. You can desire to get up in the morning. I promise you you can. And I know after all that everybody's gone through over the course of the last 3+ years, it can feel empty and devastating and hopeless. And that's just not true. And I want you, if you even have considered suicide, if suicide is, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not here to tell you anything, right? Like, you need to go get help. And if that's crossed your mind, go watch the movie. Go watch the movie and see what's possible for you. This guy made a choice. And I think, like thinking back through the movie, I was like, I was thinking, when was the pivot? When was the critical moment that he finally chose to shift? And at one point, this little family that moved in, the daughter had drawn a picture of him with the girls as part of of her family. And the mom had said, she always colors you in picture. And he was like, what do you mean always? Because it was the first time he got a picture from her, that she actually shared the picture. So it revealed that this guy was really important to that family. He was really important to those kids. And I don't want to minimize, you guys, how important you are to the world. You were created uniquely, divinely, and only the way that you've got gifts that only you can give to the world. There is only one of you. No one else has your DNA. No one else has your skill set. No one else has your character. No one else looks the way you do. Nobody else can give the world what you can give the world. And so when you think that your life is worthless, it's not. I just want to, it's not worthless. And you guys, I deal with this. I want you to know that unfortunately you're not alone. I deal with this with people who are doing a mundane blue collar job day in and day out. And I deal with this with super high level achievers that have the world at its fingertips. Locally here, we just went through, and I didn't know this family in any way, but a very prominent person in the society here in our local area shot his wife multiple times in front of his kids and then committed suicide. And it's just like, it doesn't matter what you have or don't have. The gaping hole is that people are looking outside of them for their joy, for their love, for their fulfillment. No thing, no person can do it for you. You have to do the work, internal work, to get to the core of who you are, to discover the essence of how you were created. No two DNA is the same. No two identical twins are the same. No two snowflakes are the same. You are unique. You were created for a unique gift to give to the world, and discover that. Take time to figure out who you are. We're going to talk about vision. We're going to talk about all these things that will help you do that. But I'm telling you, discover who you are and what the world would love to have from you. Everyone has a gift. Even the worst of the worst, everyone has a gift. Give it to the world. Get out there. And like I said, go watch the movie Otto. Watch his emotional journey as he goes through, where he's so hard-hearted on the front end. And he finally opens himself up just a little bit. By the end of the movie, he's rescuing and saving and fighting for other people. And he's doing things that he otherwise would not have done. So I just really preach to you today. And if you know someone that has suicidal tendencies, that has shared with you that they've thought about it or whatever, please just encourage them. Take this opportunity today to just send a text or a phone call or a voice message or a card in the mail. My God, when did we completely lose the ability to send a card in the mail? Encourage someone. Just tell them how much you appreciate them and how much you love them. You never, ever know the impact that you have when you do that to other people. And I'll tell you this, if you are in this state of complete and utter despair and you're ready to turn the towel in, think of 3 people yourself that you can reach out to, that you can say, thank you so much. You've been such an integral part of my life and you changed my life in this way. Tell them. When you focus on gratitude, when you focus on the people that have built you up, that have been there for you, you shift out of that state yourself. You have the power to shift out of that state. You do. You have the power to shift out of that. And I really would encourage you to just take the step, just do it. Even if you have to do it every hour. If every hour you're like, oh, forget it, I don't want to do this. Send 3 more messages. Another hour goes by. Forget life. I don't want to do this. Send 3 more messages. Go be what the world needs from you. The world is so much a better place when we are giving our best to everyone around us. And so I really encourage you to do that. And I encourage you to watch the movie. I encourage you to track his emotional journey and relate it to you. How can you shift into that space? What areas of your life can you help other people? Who needs you in your life? And what can you provide for them? Okay. I say all this with so much love. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. This isn't doctor advice. If you're seriously in trouble, go get professional advice and get help, right? And I just hope to God that this is some form of help and boost to people who are even considering this. And, you know, the one thing I will say on the divorce aspect as well is divorce isn't just marital. I deal with this with executives all the time where they had a career set and they were fast-tracked on this career and then all of a sudden they lost their job or they got laid off. That's a form of divorce and it's hard. And the reason it's a form of divorce is anything we attach our identity to that's outside of us can cause us to feel like we're going through divorce, okay? So encourage the people around you. Choose to step up and out of this. Choose to see the gift that you are to the world and go give that gift to everyone around you. Share this, follow our channels, follow the podcast, follow us on YouTube, share this with anyone you know, please, to encourage them and just say, you know, hey, I heard this today. I know this has been a thing for you in the past. I just really want to encourage you. And hopefully this message will encourage you too, to step in and step out of that space today and go be what the world needs you to be. All right. Much love.